The DIESOL podcast,
Developing innovation in English as a second or other language.
episode 83, interview with Jojo, ChatGPT in the ESL classroom.
Welcome to DIESOL. This is episode 83. We are your hosts. I'm Brent Warner.
And I'm Ishel Reyes. Brent.
Hey, how's it going?
Did I tell you that I'm no longer going to be a co-host on the DIESOL podcast?
No, you didn't tell me that. Is that a
April Fools? It's April 1st, where
Yes.
I'm at.
Yes.
Sorry,
yes.
you're still in the past.
Yeah, we're
So
we're a little ahead on our recording. So by the time people hear this, they'll be like, what is going on here?
yeah, that was not funny, Ishel. Okay, whatever.
I was like,
So Brent,
I was all excited. I'm like, ooh, who's good?
what? I thought we were team.
April Fools in return. So there you go.
So you just got back from Q. How was that?
It was good. It was good. Really good. Lots of good conversations.
So I saw ChatGPT is like all the rage.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of ChatGPT conversations because of
What?
the time. Well, so sorry, everybody was talking about it, but there
Yes.
weren't a lot of sessions on it because the way that the timing worked between
When
applications
it was
and
announced,
when it
yes.
came out, it didn't really, there wasn't a lot of opportunities. So I kind of worked with Q to make it, because I said we have to have this conversation. People are going to be talking about it, and so there were a few presentation sessions that they opened up after, and mine was one of them, and it did go really well. There was a lot of people pouring out into the hallways, all that stuff, and the conversation is just big, and
I'm
so
friends with a celebrity, an edgy
it's
celebrity.
nothing like that, but I mean, it was kind of tricky because I was like, it was actually one of the things where I was in a small medium-sized room, and it said, well, there's going to be a lot of people coming to this, and I got people telling me, hey, I want to come and check that out, and I was like, come early because I don't think there's going to be spots, and then that it did turn out to be the case.
How
So
big was your conference room?
I think there was something like maybe like 120 seats or something like that. I'm
Eesh.
not sure, but there
And
should,
that was full.
yeah, there should have been like, some of the rooms have like closer
Wow.
to 250 or 300, the bigger set rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyways, all of this is to say, definitely the conversation is big. People are incredibly interested. There's no end of like where to talk about AI and how it's going to fit in with teaching and all of those things. And so,
Right.
so yeah, it's just going to be bigger and bigger as we keep going.
Yeah. So I think as of this month, ChatGPT is 6 months old.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
Can you
just
believe it?
revolutionized like writing and education and language learning, and it is just appropriate that I've made some really good friends here in Taiwan. One of them is our guest today. His name is Jojo, and he's a colleague of mine. He's teaching English as well. So let me give him the official introduction.
Okay.
Um, and the reason is that he's using ChatGPT. So I was like, what? You're embracing ChatGPT in the language classroom. And it was brand new when I first started I arrived here in February. So 3 months after it all changed the world. Okay.
hmm
So Jojo is a major in the ROC military, and he's been teaching English for specific purposes and English literature at the Air Force Institute of Technology Technical Training Center for almost 3 years. He enjoys teaching students English, and he devotes himself to finding a better way of teaching and engaging his students. He tries to fix problems where students might lack confidence and interest in learning English. He knows the feeling well himself as a language learner, and he takes his experience as an exchange student overseas for 6 years and applies all of this in the language classroom. He loves to play music and act in his classes because he believes this can help students fit in with the culture and learn English more naturally. So, Jojo.
Welcome, Jojo.
Hello, Michelle, my
Welcome to the
friend.
show.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And it's really my pleasure to join this broadcast.
Oh, we're very happy to have you. So, I'm hearing Michelle give this bio, and I'm like, oh, it like sounds like fun. You're gonna playing music, acting, like you've got a really interactive classroom that you're working with your students. It sounds like.
Yes, because traditionally we have a class, like student like sit on a seat to listen to the teachers. So it's less interactive in Taiwan. So I want to change this kind of environment to more active for student and teachers.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, we were just doing in my class. We were doing a unit about Eastern education and Western education, and kind of comparing how the systems work, right? And that's one of the conversations. Is like a lot of times they were saying in Eastern education, it's very be quiet, follow the rules, don't do anything, like just just be ready. And it sounds like you're trying to help shift that to a more active setup, huh?
True. Yes, I want to change this because in personal experience, I learn English is very traditional way. Like we always have to learn vocabularies, grammars, and that's it. We don't have much, learning about the cultures. We learn English, but not much about cultures, and that's why I want to bring like music or drama into my class, so the student will have a better understanding to English and the English cultures.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jojo, one of the conversations that we first had when I met you, and I don't know if you remember, but because I met so many teachers at the beginning, I had a hard time remember everybody's names, but I just remember that you mentioned ChatGPT, and I was just well, first I was surprised because back home the conversation among my colleagues has just started. The conversation in California is happening, but the conversation in Texas with my colleagues just started. So I was really excited to see how you embrace ChatGPT, and I'm just wondering, with so many headlines where we are seeing ChatGPT banned in so many places, schools, universities, and in different countries, or even I'm not sure how it's being received in Taiwan. But what made you want to use it in your language classroom?
Oh well, in my opinion, that technology always changes the way of our lives. So therefore, the ChatGPT is the next. We should embrace it rather than refuse it. Sooner or later, we are going to use it frequently, just like we use the Facebook or IG, etc. So I wish my students have the wisdom and the right attitude through to judge to ChatGPT and use it correctly, because the experience I use ChatGPT, and I think that they have really good constructor of the articles in the written English, so students could learn something from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as I've been having conversations about it almost every day since it came out, and I think the more that students learn how to interact with it, they're going to start finding more and more ways to use it for their own learning, right? So, are you using it directly inside of your classroom, or are you kind of talking about it and having students use it outside? And I guess that kind of connects to how are you introducing it to your students?
Oh, I introduce my students first in my class, and I will ask them what is OpenAI, and I just introduce these new technologies, and I ask them to use it to try themselves, so they have a first-hand experience to to know what is ChatGPT and how to use it. So I just list like 10 topic and ask them to use ChatGPT to make a script for their speaking test.
Oh, tell me about that. So a script for their speaking test?
Yes, so I'm at least like 10 different topic. So they have to use ChatGPT to make those contact and to absorb those content to make their own.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what does that end up looking like for the students? How are they engaging, or how are they connecting with it there?
Well, they found really interesting because this new thing, new stuff, and and they found difficult to make a good one, a good contact because they doesn't know how to promote the right correct word for promoting the correct informations. So it's just I think the learning progress is good for them.
So do you find that so I'm guessing that sometimes students are also learning maybe not to choose right away the first thing that ChatGPT gives them. Have you found that they have to read carefully, or that they have to select carefully? Because I know that you said at the beginning you hope that your students will use it wisely, and so I'm curious about the experience that your students are having when they first interact with ChatGPT.
Right. So their first experience the ChatGPT is like they copy them. They copy the contact, but they use the like 80% of the contact. Didn't change much. But I tell them to you can use all of it. You just use part of it and make your own. And I think that's a better way for students to use it.
And have you found that your students, because I introduced it to my students in my class, and one of the first things they started doing was trying to translate. So they were like, "Oh, can it talk in Farsi? Can it talk to me in Chinese?" And they figured out how to start prompting it so that it was actually responding to them in their languages as well. Have you used it for with your students for translation, or have you only used it for English to English use?
Actually, I did it both. Because they use it, they type Chinese first, then they have to translate to English. So yes, we did in the class.
I was going to say, do you find that students are able to tell between the better, I guess, I've prompted ChatGPT to tell me things, but then I'm not satisfied. And so I want another response. Are your students going through multiple responses in ChatGPT before they select one, or are they just choosing the first one?
In my observation, they choose the first one first. Then yeah, and then I think it's really hard for them to make the adjustment. So I think they still need for them to learn how to use it.
Yeah. I think that's still what everybody is kind of going through right now, is really like understanding how to talk to ChatGPT and how to get the most use out of it. One of the regular conversations that I'm having these days is when, for example, for us as language teachers, we might have expertise in certain areas, right? And so when ChatGPT gives us content, we have enough knowledge to look at it and then analyze it and figure out what parts are right and what parts are wrong. But sometimes the students don't have that level of expert knowledge, right? And so there's a different gap between the people who know a lot of stuff, or they have an expert level of understanding so they can analyze it, and the students who don't, who are still trying to learn these things. How do you talk to your students about that, to try to be maybe critical thinkers about what ChatGPT is producing while they're using it? Is there a way that you've been kind of helping your students figure that out?
Oh, well, because we are still exploring the chat GTP. So in this part, I haven't have a answer yet. But still, I think, as you say, like critical thinking is important. And so I will ask them not, to uh, more detail, more detail about the context, the topic they learn. So it's not only just from the chat GP, but also other things to the topics.
Have you used it for grammar, for example, like things like they can get training or get it to teach them things that that maybe you could teach them, of course, but you can say, hey, you take this home and you can also get an instant response. Have you played with some of the fundamental English skills inside of ChatGPT?
Yes, yes, yes. I ask them if you have any grammar problems, ask ChatGPT. Because he will always give you correct answers. I mean, almost the correct answers. But if you have any problems, just come back to me. So I think this is good interaction between teachers, ChatGPT, and students. So teachers, because we only have 24 hours. We cannot spend all the time to students, but students can use that so they can use the ChatGPT to learn the grammars. And then if they have any problems, they just come back to us and we'll explain in Chinese or in English.
So, Jojo, I'm curious because I'm curious about teaching in Taiwan and then using ChatGPT. One of the challenges is, as a language teacher here, is that you're teaching English, but the students are living in a Chinese-speaking country. And I'm wondering if you have noticed that using ChatGPT helps students. Is that something positive for them? Does it help them to break out of that, I guess, tendency to go back to Chinese? Have you noticed any difference or any improvement in the way that their learning language environment is?
In my opinion, I think it doesn't change much though. It's because the student and myself still learning from it. So it's really hard for people to change their learning habit. Yeah, so I think they still need time to know how to use it and how to accept those kind of things.
That's a great point, Jojo, because I think that's one of the things that people are getting scared about is like, well, that's just going to do all the work for them, but our human brains still need time to learn the language, right?
True.
It's not overnight for us, even though the technology is amazing. It doesn't mean that if we're studying a language that magically tomorrow we're going to be so much better than we were without a tool like this.
Yes, yes.
So Jojo, to follow on this, sorry, I'm interested a little bit in also your colleagues and how they're reacting. Are they are you talking about ChatGPT with your colleagues, and are they? A lot of my colleagues or teachers that I talk to are nervous or scared about it, right? Kind of like you mentioned at the beginning. I'm interested to know how your colleagues in Taiwan are also responding. Are they doing the same thing, like we shouldn't do this, or are they trying things like you're doing, or how are other teachers that responding right now?
Well, for now, I think that for the young teachers, they are they are how do I put this? So for most of the young teachers, they are willing to try to use ChatGPT in their classes and use it as for like making exam papers. So yes, it's easy for them as a tool to help them to make to do. But for older teachers, they think it's very difficult for them to understand and to know these technologies. And then I think this problem is like when I was in England, I studied my master degree. I have my topic is use the virtual reality in higher education. Yes, and the students think is very interesting, but most of teachers think that it's just like a toy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like it's not really useful. But the traditional teachers, English teaching teachers, they think is really useless. But on the other hand, the technology teachers, they think is very interesting. We should use it as like we can to expand our vision and to see as to use as like the Google Map. So when we're traveling, so we can use it as a tool.
Right. I think, it's interesting because Brent and I will have conversations about new tools all the time. And when I first found out about ChatGPT, I was sharing with my colleagues, and I would say a younger generation, although we're getting older, a younger generation, but they were all excited. And one of my colleagues, he's a different generation. I would say maybe 20 years older. And he said, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna," what did he say? He made a comment about ending our jobs, and it was more of a fear rather than excitement. And of course, it's as with other tools, right? It's as with touch screen phones and getting rid of buttons on certain devices, or eye recognition technology or facial recognition software. But Brent and I are constantly saying, "What are your colleagues doing? What are you doing?" And so that was one of the questions I had asked you before. It's like, well, what are people doing in Taiwan? I want to know, how are they using it? And it turns out the older generation seems to fear it in both countries.
Yeah, it's kind of
same here.
Seems to be the kind of the common response, right? So Jojo, I'm interested here. So there, a lot of the times we're having two parts of the conversation, right? One part is how are we using it with students, right? And then the other part, how are we having students use ChatGPT? And then the other part is how are we as teachers using ChatGPT to help us with whatever we're doing in our work? Have you used these tools, any of the AI bots, to help you prepare for lessons, or to create content, or make, I don't know, quizzes, whatever else you're doing? Have you done kind of your preparation and office work using ChatGPT?
Yes, I did. Like 2 weeks ago, I used ChatGPT to like quizzes for my students, and I think it's really useful because you can put any content in the ChatGPT, and then it will make the selection answers for you. So it's really convenient for me to make to do a quiz with ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found the same thing. Mm-hmm. Michelle?
I was going to say, Brent, that was like the first thing that I did. Oh my gosh, I can enter this text from the book, and I want to see if it can make a true or false quiz, or multiple choice quiz. And when I didn't like the quiz, I just kept make another. Yeah, but I think that Jojo, you're one of the points about ChatGPT is that it's efficient.
Yes, it's very
maybe
efficient.
A more efficient way of coming up with something. And if you really don't like it, you don't have to take the whole thing. You can modify what it gave you.
But there's still some faults when you come out with those questions. So you have to check each question by yourself. Yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of the conversation is about like some people are using it to kind of do all the work, right? So it's just like, just do it and then fine, then it's done, right? But I think that there's also a good part here where you're saying, well, hold on a second, let me use it to create something and then I'll think about it and I have a good kickstart, right? A good starting place that puts me up a level. So I've kind of already moved down the road of the project a little bit, whether that's creating new content or making a quiz or, creating a dialogue for students to practice or whatever else it is. I've found that, when I'm staring at a blank screen, for example, on my Google Docs, and I'm like, what am I going to write? And then I sit there for a long time thinking about it. But now with kind of ChatGPT, it can get me started. And then I'll actually still spend quite a lot of time editing it and changing it around and fixing these things or getting rid of parts or whatever else it is. But it gets me started, right? And that's kind of the big part for me that makes a lot of difference is instead of that, I don't know, it's like writer's block, right? Like a creativity block before you get started. And then you can start doing and developing and creating your work.
Right.
So Jojo, what are your future thinking? Like, what are the things that you want to try to do with these AI tools and things? Like I think a lot of us have ideas, but we haven't tried things yet. What are some of the things? And just because we haven't had time for everything, right? What are some of the things that you're thinking about, or maybe you want to try using it with your students? Do you have any ideas of future uses?
I think I will use it for my student in writing skills. Yes, because I think the ChatGPT can write like really good content for my student to learn. Because I think it's really relatable for them to learn a good English structure from ChatGPT.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's going to be a lot of use for writing. I think people have to figure out some of that writing and how it's going to work with it, but yes. I definitely agree that'll be good too.
All right. I don't know if I have any other questions for this session, Jojo, but please keep us updated on any kind of other use or anything, because right now we're at the experimenting stage, right? With ChatGPT, yes. We're even learning how to use it for us as teachers. I know that, for example, what did I see the other day? Somebody asked ChatGPT what was best for a language learning student, and ChatGPT broke it down. And that may not, it's kind of cool. There's so many things that now I don't need to go to the library to get the most updated research on what's out there. I could just ask ChatGPT, hey, what's a language activity that I can do using these verbs? And it might give me something, and it might not be what I want, but as you said, it's good to check, and then it might give you an idea or a starting point. So keep us updated. I'm glad that you're experimenting and not shying away from new technologies, and hopefully you might get other colleagues on board, and we'll see where it takes us in a few months.
Yes, Jojo, keep pushing the teachers in Taiwan to try it out and see what happens.
I will.
All right, let's jump over.
All right, it is time for our fun finds. And guess what? Today I have Taiwanese dry noodles. I didn't know there was such a thing as dry noodles.
What is dry noodles? You, Brent? Is that different than ramen? Like Maruchan ramen?
Yeah, I thought when my students said, "Teacher, you got to try dry noodles," I thought dry noodles was like the package, like the ramen. You know how kids like to open the ramen and just eat it like that? Nope. It is a cooked noodle, similar to udon noodle or udon noodle, but it doesn't come in a soup, or it's just lightly, I don't know, marinated in a sauce. But they're called dry. But they're so delicious, and I'm constantly craving Taiwanese dry noodles. They are delicious. I don't know how to find them in the States. I'm sure in California you can probably find them somewhere, but they are delicious. So if you're in Taiwan or somewhere where you can find Taiwanese dry noodles, you need to try them.
Does the package actually say Taiwanese dry noodles, or is there like a brand?
No, there's no package. You order them from like a night, I don't know if a night market, but from just like a little food shops here in Taiwan.
Man.
There's a lot of places.
You're making this impossible to
get. No, you got to know people.
Okay.
And they have to own like a restaurant, and they have to, but I think the Asian Food Festival, whenever they have it in San Gabriel, that you might be able to find them there.
Okay.
So
okay, cool.
Good luck.
All right. Dry noodles.
What do you have?
So mine is a weighted eye pillow. So I think I go to these yoga classes in the morning, right? And the last session, at the end of the session, you do your the corpse pose, right? You just lay down for a couple of minutes and you relax. But sometimes my teacher walks around and will leave these weighted eye pillows. So it's just a little sack, like a beanbag sack that you put right over your eyes, and it's just very relaxing. I mean, I know of course it's at the end of a yoga session, so regardless it's relaxing, but I was like, I'm gonna order one for my house for taking naps or just for taking a 10-minute rest or something, because there's something very soothing about the gentle pressure on top of your eyes. My wife has a weighted blanket, and she loves that, that pressure.
I have one. Mm-hmm.
You have that too. Yeah.
Very relaxing.
Yeah, and so this is kind of like the same thing, but on your eyes, and it just kind of is a stress reliever, and you can find them on Amazon, all sorts of different ones out there, but some of them are scented with lavender, and some of them are unscented, but a weighted eye pillow, that's my my fun find.
You can find them in your pantry. Take some
a bag of beans.
Mini Ziploc bags and put rice in them.
Yeah. So if you have a little bag of rice, I suppose you could do it too. Just I wouldn't put it with the plastic bag, because that seems like it would probably break the airflow into your skin, But but yeah, it's probably fine.
What have you been doing? Putting a sack of rice on my face.
Yeah, something like All right, Jojo, do you have a fun find?
So recently I have watched a series called Violet Evergarden. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
It's a stunning anime series that captive its audience with beautiful animation and compelling stories and emotional depths. The series is a masterpiece of its genre, and its combination of stunning visuals and compelling character make it must-watch for anime fans.
Nice. Okay, so
you've got your anime, your dry noodles, and your pillow, and you're good to go.
Yeah, we got it all. All right, thanks so much. We're gonna wrap it up and jump on out.
All right. If you're giving us a shout out anyway, tag us on social media. We are on all the platforms. Thank you for listening, as always.
Yes, thank you for listening. We are on Patreon. We have a buy us a coffee on the website if you're so inclined. And we have show notes here too, so you can find links to all the things we're talking about. You can find links to some of our previous AI conversations as well. Those will be in there too. And you can find this episode at diesel.org/83. That's the number 83. And of course, you can listen to us at VoiceEd Canada. That's voiced.ca. Twitter, still on Twitter. The show's at DieselPod, and I am at Brent G. Warner. Michelle, you're still kind of there.
I'm still on Twitter. I'm still on Twitter, and I'm at Ixy_Pixie. That's IXY_PIXY. And if you have any questions for Jojo, or you want to share with him what you are doing with ChatGPT, or are overseas and need some ideas, Jojo, is there a place where people can find you?
And you can contact my email.
Mm-hmm.
What's your email, Jojo?
Do I write down, or do I say it?
You can say it.
You can say it.
Okay, like WT, like 3356194 and gmail.com.
Okay. We will also have that written down on the show notes so that people, because that'll be a hard one for people to remember as they're riding their bikes or jogging along the beach side or wherever they're at. So so we'll get that
check us out
written
on
down.
the website.
Yeah. Okay, so Jojo, this is the part where we get you to say the in Taiwanese part.
Okay, in Taiwanese, thank you is dosha, and doshas for turning into the DIESOL podcast.
All right, thanks everybody. Thanks Jojo.
Thank you.